Hi, my name's Amara, and today I'm coming to you with some travel tips. These are specifically about the month-long vacation that we get in Spring Festival, which is in January. Most people choose, of course, to travel around China or outside of China or travel to Southeast Asia. So I'm just going to give you some tips about how to make the best of your holiday. So for my holiday, I went to quite a few places, a few days in each place. I went to Sanya, which is in Hainan province. They call it the Hawaii of China. Then to Hong Kong, then to Taiwan, so a little city called Hualien, then up to Taipei, which is also in Taiwan, then Taichung, and then Kaohsiung, all in Taiwan, and then flew back to mainland China to Xiamen, and then down to Guangzhou, up to Guilin, and then back home to Zhangjiajie in Hunan. I did the first half of the trip with friends, with other people, and the second half was just me on my own. It was hands down one of the best experiences of my life. So there's a few things that you'll definitely want to do before you go. The first of these is that I would advise that you brush up on your Chinese. If you're traveling around in China, of course, it is very, very useful. Of course, you have your phone, maybe a dictionary, but it will make you feel a lot more confident if you try and get those basics words down. So words for transportation, words for food, anything that might come in really useful. This is always recommended actually for anywhere that you go ever. You should photocopy your important documents such as your passport, residence permit, your visa, anything, just in case of the event that you lose your passport or maybe a hotel requires a photocopy of your passport, then it's very, very, very handy to have these things. It's also useful to top up your phone data before you go. You don't want to be caught out when you lose your data in the middle of the day and you perhaps get lost. Not that you should be worried about that, but it's very, very useful to do that as well. Store any numbers of hostels or owners of hostels or any contacts that you've made along the way. Store those numbers on your phone because they might come in handy as well. So as for during the journey, a few tips for that as well. Traveling in China and around China, travel can be pretty last minute. Trains can be booked pretty last minute. You can download some apps for that. Hostels can also be booked last minute. I ended up a couple of times booking one the night before. So you can really go with the flow when you're traveling around China and outside of China. If you like a place, stay there longer. If you don't, leave early, or you can make your own decision. And that's one of the wonderful freedoms about traveling out here. Lots of people use TripAdvisor to find out what they should do in each new place, and it's really, really good actually. I used a lot. But what I would also recommend is speaking to the owner of the hotel or hostel or other guests of wherever you're staying and trying to get kind of local recommendations for what you should see and do. At the very least, they can maybe give you cheaper options, how to do the same thing, or recommend to you even just a restaurant or something that you might not have found had you not asked them. Another tip for during your travel, this might seem like an obvious one, but don't carry lots of cash everywhere. Use your cards if possible. Do have some emergency cash if you need to, but if possible, try and use your card because you don't want to have obviously big amounts of cash on you because it's a little bit dangerous. And if you are traveling alone, I did this for about half my trip. This is a personal thing, but I like to challenge myself every day to have at least one conversation with someone new. Everyone here appreciates a good chat, and you can even make someone's day if you stop to chat to them. You can make a new friend, maybe go for a cup of coffee with someone. To do this, I like to use a couple of things. First of all, I used Tantan actually, which is kind of like Chinese Tinder, but you can use it romantically if you want, but I used it just for meeting up with people. You can also use an app or a website called Couchsurfing to do this too. But what you can do is use it just to hang out with people, other people who are tourists or maybe locals are on there too. Or you can actually use it to find a place for the night. I used it a couple of times. How it works is there are people that offer to host, and then you can write to them, you can say why you would love to be hosted by them, how long you're staying in their city, anything that you would have to share with them, like local dishes or some music that you like, or it's kind of, they offer you some place for the night and you try to offer something in return. It's a really good way to make friends, see a local area, go to part of it that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise, and of course it's cheap because it doesn't cost anything. Of course you're expected to buy your own food and maybe buy them a meal or, you know, share a bottle of wine that you paid for, something like that. But really it's mostly about friendship. I stayed over at a couple of people's houses using couch surfing. A couple of people in Taiwan. The first one was in Taichung. Lovely girl. Stayed at her house. We didn't hang out very much, unfortunately, because she was working, but I felt incredibly welcome. She even bought me breakfast one morning, which was so sweet. She gave me directions, told me where certain places were. So even though we didn't hang out much, I do feel like I made a friend there, and she was so incredibly helpful to me. The second host I stayed with was in Kaohsiung, also in Taiwan. It was a very last minute request, actually, I think a day or 2 days before, but she was happy to put me up, and we did so much together. We went to her local hairdresser, we went to the cinema, we watched fireworks together, and it was so lovely. She took me all around town on her electric scooter, which was very fun. I was a little scared at first, but it was a good experience to have. And so now we keep in contact on Facebook. It's something that I'll never forget. Let's see if I can think of anything else. Always haggle in markets if you can. There are so many night markets in Taiwan and of course in Hong Kong. And it's so much fun to try and haggle. It's a bit of banter, it's good fun. I would also say, if possible, walk everywhere that you can. For big cities that have metros, maybe take them to 1 or 2 stops away from your destination and then just walk through. For anyone who might have put on a bit of noodle and rice weight when they came to China, walking everywhere is a great way to lose a little bit of that. And it means that you see a lot more of the city that you're in. Maybe come across something that you wouldn't have otherwise. Personally, I was clocking up about 30,000 steps a day just because of all the walking, and I felt great because of it. And it helps in noisy hostels because you're so tired that you just sleep through all the noise. Actually, hostels is another good one to talk about. If you're staying in a hostel, try and be a good guest. Clean up after yourself. Don't make too much noise if you come in after a few glasses of wine. Don't leave stuff everywhere. If you're getting up really early to go somewhere the next day, have your bag packed the night beforehand so that you don't wake anyone. Hostels are also a great way to make friends too. The other guests there are usually in the same boat as you. So just to round off all those travel tips, my last one would be just chill out. Don't panic if you miss a train, you miss a bus, you know, a couch surfing host cancels on you. There's always another option. And people I've found in China and in Taiwan and the other places I traveled to, people are very helpful. Things do happen sometimes where maybe a hostel hasn't registered that you've booked or any other kind of problem, and it's always something you can get past. So I hope these tips have helped you a little bit, and maybe if you're a bit nervous about the whole traveling thing, maybe it's calmed you down a little bit. Because Spring Festival is a whole month long, you've got such a good opportunity to see lots of places and to really try out so many things that you've never done before. So I hope that this has helped you and that hopefully you can have as good an experience as I did. Have a great time traveling by yourself or with friends or with other teachers or strangers that you've just met that day. All right, bye-bye.